Welcome everyone to the another episode. Today we have Mr. Steve Martile all the way from US. So he is the business owner, and he is been created his business from coming from like a different background. So he started out as a mechanical engineer, then became a life coach. So today he runs his publishing agency that helps entrepreneurs and business owners write, publish, and monetize their book through expand their business revenue in new and exciting ways. And also, Steve Gore writing his own book is going to be published couple of months or so, and we're gonna discuss about that, like what's his book about, how you can grab a copy of it, everything in between. Also, his journey of starting the business and making the transition from life coaching to this publishing agency he has. So, without further ado, let's welcome to this show, Mr. Steve. Welcome to the show, and how are you doing today?
Excellent, Anuel. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's my pleasure. I'm excited to have the conversation with you, and learning about your journey is really quite interesting for mechanical engineer to a life coach, then right now publishing agency, and also you're going to be soon an author, like you're going to publish your first book, I guess. So it is quite exciting. So walk me through and my listeners today, like how is your journey began before you become a mechanical engineer and everything growing up? How's your childhood look like and who you wanted to be when you want to grow up?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I'll give you the condensed version. So I remember in grade four in grade school, I'm in Canada, by the way, but I go to the US a lot. So I get
Yeah.
mistaken as an American, but I'm a Canadian. Um, I actually wanted to be an astronaut. I don't know why, but that didn't ever end up happening. When I was in high school, I was terrible at English. So the fact that I run a publishing business now, where we work with around 25 new authors a year writing their books, kind of amazes me because I almost flunked English, even though it's my native language, because we did a thesis project and I really struggled on it. And I think the teacher felt sorry for me and she just gave me a really good passing grade. And I ended up going to university of that, becoming a mechanical engineer. Uh, um, when I was working in engineering was fine, but I just realized there was a distinct pulling. I had a tug inside to do something else, to do something beyond what I'd like, kind of beyond my boundaries. But then the logical part of me was like, stay in a secure paying job, just take care, pay the bills, that sort of thing. So it was this internal tension I was dealing with. And at some point, I realized I needed to try something else. I ended up going in a totally different direction. And then I did attempt to start my first life coaching business. But because I had no business experience, I'm 47 now, so this was like a long time. This was 20 years ago. But what I've started to do is I tried to like build a business around learning a lot about marketing,
Yeah.
but I was failed miserably at that business. Like I think I ended up generating about $12,000 that year, getting in a ton of debt. And after about 2 years of that, I dropped the life coaching business, went back to work as a mechanical engineer. In
Mm.
total, I worked as a mechanical engineer for about 15 years. But th what happened was eventually I've started to gravitate towards marketing, and I realized I have a lot of people in my network that are owners of construction businesses because of my background, mechanical engineering.
Yeah.
And I realized they needed help with marketing and they didn't have a marketing department. And some of these businesses were doing, even in 70 million pounds a year in business with no marketing department.
Mm.
And so I knew that if I could get them to see the benefit of having marketing, that it could be a generate business for me. And so the
Yeah.
first client I got ended up signing a year contract for $40,000, and then I signed three of those, and then I quit my job. And I was like, oh, okay, this is great.
Yeah.
Now I didn't end up staying in that business. I ended up shifting again because again, I think as you're going through this journey, it's like I was always trying to find out what you think you're going to do and what you end up doing are always two different things. Like
Right.
like I started out thinking I was going to be an astronaut, then I went into mechanical engineering, then I'm like doing this life coaching business. And so what I realized is that marketing was getting closer to my passion and my strengths, but
Mm.
it wasn't quite there yet. Eventually what happened is I over a couple more years, I ended up working with a client that I was doing marketing for, and he was in the publishing business.
Right.
And this is my first book, by the way. I already published a book a few years ago, and my second one's coming out in a couple months. But what was interesting is that I was working with this guy, and he had a great business. He was helping authors publish their books, write and publish and market them. And I started realizing like I was getting him a lot of appointments. I think over a period of 6 months, we'd gotten like about 60 appointments, and he wasn't closing anything. And so I said, you know what? You okay if I come on the calls with you? And he
Hmm.
said, yeah. So we came on the calls. We did like two or three. The third one we closed together. And so I said, do you want me to like just like do the closes for you and then you can just do the writing part? And he said, yeah. So did that for 18 months and we started to build the business together. And I kind of fell in love with the business. I was like, oh, this writing business is really cool. And I had a client, I had two or three people after the first year said, well, am I working with you or the owner? And I said, well, what? I mean, like, you're working with the owner. Like, I want to
Yeah.
work with you. Like, I want you to help me write the book. And that's when I was like, I think I'm going to do this. So then I started I told the original guy that I'd worked with, which was amazing. I learned a lot
Right.
from it. I said, "Hey, I'm going to start this on my own," and I just went cold turkey right into it, and haven't turned back ever since. It's a fabulous business, and I've learned a lot from it. My clients are really smart entrepreneurs. I learn a lot from them. Some of them are in startup mode, and so, but like have a unconscious competence in their craft.
All right.
And so learned a lot from the business, but also more importantly, I learned that we could do the book in about 3 or 4 months. And so we set up a process and how to like write the draft in like 8 weeks, a 200-page book, 160-page book in 8 weeks. You say, how do you do that? Well, we use AI, we use technology. Like we have a recorder on our calls. I start a dialogue with the client. We transcribe those. We
Yeah.
add that to a Google Doc. We rewrite a bit, and then there's a bit of writing, 3 to 4 hours of writing a week, and then we continue that process. And we have like 100, 100 pages in a Google Doc is a 200-page book, 45,000 words. And then we go into editing and then cover design. There's a whole process, but like 3 or 4 months, we have the book published, and we've even written entire books. Actually, I have a couple clients in the UK, but
Hmm.
one of them actually, we wrote the entire book for him. Just he hasn't written a word. It was just him talking. And so
Yeah.
what I've discovered is like if someone talks for 3 or 4 minutes, that's like 4,000 words. And if it's like a story or a rant or something like specifically supporting a very strong concept that they want to share,
Yeah.
well, it doesn't take long to get to 45,000 words if you're capturing those very strong insights. So, anyways, that's kind of like short version of my journey. I talk about my struggle between like, getting into the entrepreneur and like working as an engineer and that tension,
Yeah.
and I document it in this book. My second book is more, it's called The Ascension Code, how to break free from the past, the emotions of the past to create an extraordinary future. And it's a process of basically not just letting go of emotions and negative emotions, but the definitions and beliefs that keep us kind of reinforcing the future
Mm.
that we don't want. And that does come out in a couple months. And I'm excited about it because I've helped people with bulimia, like basically eating disorders. I've helped people with insomnia. I've helped people that have like been to counseling or been to psychotherapists or psychologists.
Right.
One guy I worked with in 2 years, I was going to psychologist. We spent an hour and a half together. We did this very deep meditative trance process, and then he hasn't had to go to the psychologist anymore. So I've and again, I don't know if you believe in past lives, Anul, but like this is one of these things where I don't know where I got this skill. I didn't get it
Right.
from mechanical engineering school. I got it from I don't know where, but I just kind of over process. I integrated it and I was like, oh, this is like a real thing where we can go into the subconscious, pull out and bring awareness, shine a light to beliefs that are not necessarily in alignment with who we truly are,
Mm.
our natural highest potential, our true nature. And once we see them, we drop them, and then the negative emotions that are associated with them go away. And I give you a ton of examples, but I mean, just one simple one is like a lot of people believe, and I did for a long time, that you got to work hard to make money.
Yeah.
Now, if you believe that, which I did for a very long time, for almost my entire life, And then you go into a business where you're working maybe 3, 4 hours a week, but you're generating $40,000 per client. So now add that up. So you got 3 clients, you're making over 100,000 a year, and you're working like 10 hours a week. You will start to work hard and do things to like think because you need to make money, you need to keep working hard. And what
Yeah.
happens is I started self-sabotaging some of the stuff I was doing because
Right.
I had the belief. Now, eventually, over a period of a couple of years, I let go of that and realized like it's okay to not be like running around crazy, being productive 40, 50, 60 hours a week. You can run, I mean, a consulting business or the business that I'm in. I have a client in the UK again who does about £1 million profit a year. I think 10 million total sales revenue. And he will tell you, and he's because he's writing a book and I'm learning from him as well. Like you want to start a consulting business when you build a massive organization and sell it, or you want to build a lifestyle business where you work 1 to 2 days a week. And some people
Yeah.
don't believe that's true. And I'm like, if you have a high margin business, you can definitely do that. But I will tell you that the belief that I need to work hard to make money you're going to fight against that. It's going to give you
Yeah.
resistance because you think you need to keep like sweating it or like, break it. And I'm like, you can do that if you want, but if you just relax and realize that's not true, then what will happen is you'll get way more creative and you'll get new ideas for other things, which is how I came up with my second book and a bunch of other things. So that's kind of introduction to me. I take
Yeah.
the conversation wherever
No,
you
I
want to
just
go.
wanted to add on that as well. Like you mentioned, like the harder we work, we think about like is equal to money, and that used to be like industrial when where everything like we work in like a warehouse or like a mechanical things. We working in a day to day, like you working for like a hourly rate work, and the more hours you do, the more money you're going to make, and that makes sense. But when it comes down to business, it's not that truth, because if you think about Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, they have 24 hours a day like us, but they making trillions. They're not like doing a millions. They're doing trillions of dollars in yearly, and the valuation of their companies. And that doesn't came from like they working more hours. And there was a study in the UK, I think in 2016. I'm not sure like which company or like which organization did it. They did it with 2,000 workers and who works in the office space. Only productive hours, they've been working 2 hours, 53 minutes or something every single day, like Monday to Friday. So that equal to, I think, about less than a 15 hours per week. A majority of time they're wasting on like unnecessary talks, unnecessary gossips, going for a meal and just browsing through like a new jobs and like buying some stuff from online. So in this case, if you think about those people, I hired them for like working for 37 hours, 40 hours per week, working their actual business, but they're actually working 15 hours. But what makes a difference is just the output, like people get the outcome, the results, right? Like if you want to make money from your business or make your clients happy or solve some problem, if you can solve the problem within a 1 minute, you can make the $1 billion if it's the worth $1 billion, like you solving the problem with. Same with
Yeah.
your same the products you are selling right now is helping people writing their own book, publishing it. If you can do that within a minute or two, and you worth like $50,000, $10,000, whatever the may be, it doesn't matter you spend the 3 months or like a 1 minute or 2 minutes using AI or whatever that may be. As long as you create the value within a minute or two, it just like that is the main thing people are after, not necessarily how long you take to craft that. And we see that like people see on luxury goods, they tend to talk about like how many hours they spend to create a certain kind of watch, the branded thing, and the crafted handbag maybe buying from Louis Vuitton, and different kind of brands. But some people right now, the whatever happening in the US, you see a lot of people coming out from China. They're posting on TikTok and
Yeah.
Instagram. They saying like it's completely not true. Like we are building this kind of products, and it doesn't take like a few days to create. It takes like a few hours to create them handbags, and it doesn't cost you $50,000. It just only costs $1,000 for material and our labor charges, and they add the logo in it, and they create a brand, and you pay $50,000 for it. So not necessarily how many hours they put in to create the bag. You are buying for the brand you probably believe in or you love, you care, or like you think this is gonna increase your social value, and this is why you're doing it. So I just wanted to add that. And you had a great run with like the businesses coming from like obviously we have to try different things in order to find who we are and like the things we love or like we passionate about it. And unless we do something, we don't know like the inner strength we have or certain things we love to do, and which is like a great. So, what was that struggle do you think like you had to face when you made this transition for mechanical engineer to like you became a life coach? Like, how come you chose to be a life coach?
Well, okay, just to add to this kind of depth of like the psychology of going from an hourly to like margin based,
Yeah.
or product or result outcome based business is like I have a friend who wants to start a consulting business and like he's thinking in like terms of hourly, like what I'm going to charge hourly. And I said I'm doing this, but I have a client, like I said, in the UK
Yeah.
is doing the same thing. He's teaching other consultants how to do this. And I said, you there's two things. One is you want to think about it as like, okay, I'm charging hourly because most people think, okay, what am I worth? Right? But if they were to flip that and just think of like, what is it worth to the client?
Mhm.
Then you can, and a result that you can deliver, regardless if that results a book, or a feasibility study for, a huge public, government agency, which is like there's massive opportunity to get those contracts. If it's worth to them 100,000 pounds and you can deliver it with some technology and a few people and you maybe do it at 15,000 pounds, then you get an 85% margin. But you don't, most people when they're starting, they don't think of that. They think, well, what am I worth? But then the idea that they could generate, say, 5,000 pounds an hour, it's like, am I worth that? Like, that's the other question. People don't ask that.
Yeah.
Like, are you worth that? And there's some people who say, well, no, I'll go back to the hourly. It's safer for them because they don't feel safe charging that much. I'm getting to your question. The reason is because deep down in the unconscious, we don't believe we're worth it.
Yeah.
And the reason we don't would be worth it sometimes, some of the time, is because we have a definition that says you got to work hard to make money. That's what I'm
Mm.
saying is like those simple thoughts that have been planted there, when we're very young, those thoughts drive the whole mechanism of our psychology of like what we go to charge clients. And
Yeah.
so the reason I was like I'm gonna do life coaching is because I fell in love with the idea of like helping people transform. I didn't realize I could do it with books too. Like there's not just one vehicle to that, right? So that's
Yeah.
why I went into the coaching thing. The reason it didn't work is because I was still figuring out how to market what I was offering. And what I discovered, and this is another false belief that I had, is that you can't make money from books, right? You get a royalty, that's fine, $8 a book, $5 a book. There's not big money unless you said tens of thousands of books. I generate about $30 per book because I offer a process that I facilitate on the back end of the book. And I'll just show you quick. So I have a QR code. I have a process. People go through, read the book, listen to the book in 3 hours on Spotify.
Mm.
I had about 98 people listen to this book in March. Actually, a lot of British people as well.
Right.
And then they go from there and then they download a free meditation because I want people to apply the information they're learning. And then from there, if they decide they want to work with me, I facilitate them through a process. And that's why I'm able to generate $30 a book. But when I had this idea for this book for 9 years, I didn't write it because I thought there's no money in books.
Yeah.
And again, that's just a false idea. You sell $1,000, that's 30,000 US, right? Which I have of this book. So I think the other thing is that I got into life coaching because I knew that I wanted to help people transform, but I also knew that I was near my strengths. One of my strengths is writing. Again, back to
Mm.
like English grade, learn. I was terrible. And now I'm like doing it as a full-time thing. Now my English isn't perfect. That's why I have an editor. I got two writers I work with that are editors. They help polish the book up, bring it up, help the reader make pictures that are excellent at that. That's
Yeah.
what they do. That's what they've been trained in academically, but also that's their strengths and passion. And that's the one thing I've done accidentally. I didn't plan this, is that not only am I working in my strengths, I also have people that are in their strengths. Now
Yeah.
I've talked to people that I want to hire that are not in their strengths. And there's this like dissonance. There's this like disconnect. It's like I find a person that is in a job, or like let's say I'm hiring a freelance contractor to do some editing with me. The person who is just wants the job or just the security for the money, they're like, hey, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
They want instructions. I'm like, I don't want someone that I have to give instructions to. if you're in your strengths, you're an artist. You do cover design. I don't need to tell you what to do. That's not what I'm good at.
Yeah.
But if you know how to do cover design, you know how to do it. And I have someone who does that. So again, I'm just saying, I think that like so many people get lost along the way as we're going through the academic system, regardless of what country you're from. You start to get set on a tangent of like, well, I got to do this so I can make money. And I'm like, just like if you can put that aside, even Jerry Seinfeld talks about this all the time. He goes, just put that aside and focus on like what like you're interested in and what your strengths are.
Mm.
Like the other part of the equation will get sorted out. But we get so focused on the money piece. So I'm mentioning it because I'm like realizing it in this like, I'm in my 40s and I'm like, holy cow, I'm like, you can build something around the things that you're passionate about. Like
Yeah.
that's something that I've always heard, but to like see it in practice, like, oh, now there is some business acumen that goes with it. Like we talked about, like building a business that produces a result,
Yeah.
not about you giving your hourly rate. It's like, what outcome are you going to help people get? And if you can focus it around that, definitely increases your margins and makes it easier to thrive.
Mm. Yeah, that's great. So obviously, a lot of time we have a misconception about writing a book, and there is not many people are reading it right now because everyone listening to the podcast, audiobook, things like that. And even the audiobooks, I'll say like no, people have a misconception. Not many people are listening to it. People are consumed to by watching TikTok and YouTube shorts. So in terms of like if a newcomer comes in and they want to write their book, they want to tell their story, or they have the unique proposition to bring into marketplace, do you think still people are reading the paper book or like the PDF cover or like audiobook or things like that? Or is there a
Yeah.
way like you can make money, or it's just like a sake of like creating book, you're just creating one?
No, it's not a sake of just creating one. Although, I mean, if you are a business owner, you create a book, it does add a lot of credibility. And but for most, I would say, majority of the authors we work with, they want to share their story. They have an important message to share. So you've got an important message to share. Having a book is one of the best mediums, and I'll tell you why. Um, there's about 60 million titles on Amazon. So if you publish a book on it, and then I'm just speaking like, we're focused in the nonfiction space, not children's books, not fiction, that sort of stuff, not
Yeah.
novels. But in nonfiction, like because there's like 60 million titles on Amazon, it's like you put a book up there, you're gonna see a noise, right? But one of the things we do is we focus on let's get the published paperback, let's get the Kindle, like you said, the PDF
Mm.
on Amazon, and then let's also get the Audible book. I've been interested in Audible books from the very beginning because two things. One is what I said earlier, 60 million titles on Amazon and on Spotify, there's only 300,000 Audible books. You're like, whoa. Now, there's 160 million European listeners on there's 100 million in North America, Canada, and the US. So you've got like hundreds of millions of people on there that are listening to
Yeah.
podcasts, like you just said, because they've been around for a while, like we're over a decade at least. And so you have these people that want to consume content, and then you have a subset of that group that are very interested in Audible books because that's how they like to consume their content. And then you have only 300,000 books. It's like there's nothing. It's like a
Right.
vacuum. So this book here, I do no marketing for it, and I get about 15 new listens a week. Okay. Now that's not even including the sales of the book that I
Is it on
get.
the
Like
Audible, right?
audibly. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
It's about 3 hours long. You listen to a 5 minute sample.
Yeah.
Boom. If you like it, you listen to the rest. So if you want to like consider back, you were saying like TikTok shorts,
Mm.
your 5 minute free sample, the Audible book, is your short. It's five
Yeah.
minutes though, but you get to actually have the experience of the book before you buy it, which you don't get with a paperback. Like you might be able to read the chapter outline, but that's about it. The second thing is we did some testing when I promoted this book initially. We were promoting the paperback for around 6 months, had people buying the book, and then we promoted the Audible book. Okay, when we did the paperback, we had about 25% of the people that bought the book that downloaded that free meditation from the book. Remember, I was talking about that? Right. And it took about 3 months for people to download the free meditation. I was tracking everything. Okay. And it made sense. You pick up the book, you put it on your nightstand, you pick it up again, right?
Yeah.
And then eventually they downloaded the meditation. Okay. Then the second way we did is we focused purely on the Audible book. I had a company in Colorado reach out to me, We were like talking, so do come as a guest speaker. I went on. We did like a whole. And they said, "Do you want?" The production team loved it. They're like, "Can you want to come back and do a whole training series?" I'm like, "Yes." Promoted the book, but this time I did something different. I said, "Let's just focus on the Audible book." And I told people you can get it on Audible, you can get it on Spotify. Just get the Audible book. It's like 10 bucks,
Yeah.
and you can listen in 3 hours. Well, this is what was really interesting. Remember, I was saying 25% of the people who bought the paperback got the download.
Mhm.
In the Audible promotion, 85% of the people who got the book got the download. And not only did that happen, like we had a huge bump in conversions, we had, instead of it taking 3 months for them to go download the meditation, it took 3 to 4 days. So if you're a business owner and you're like, oh, well, I just shrunk my sales cycle by like 3 months,
Yeah.
like that's unheard of. The second thing, or the third thing I want to mention is that I've had people that will book a consult with me because, like I said, I facilitate a process off the end of the book, and we're talking and having conversation, and these people are the best people I've ever talked to trying to build a business. Like
Yeah.
they already feel like they're completely in sync with who you are. Your values are 100% aligned. It's not like when you get on the call, like, okay, what are you offering? It's like I'm already sold on you. Like, just let's see if we can just like talk more about my problem and if you can help me with it. That's what they're looking for.
Right.
But the fourth thing on top of that is I had two women last year that I talked to who both said they listened to the book 3 times. So imagine that a podcast is one thing, half an hour podcast, a 3 hour podcast. But imagine having an Audible book that's 3 hours long, that someone listened to it 3 times.
Yeah.
They've been listening to you for 9 hours. Okay. Now, you know, and because you have your podcast, that like when you have someone listening to you for 9 hours straight, what happens psychologically is that like they're getting these voice prompts, they're hearing you at home, they're hearing you at the office, and they're going to start trying some of the things that you're sharing.
Yeah.
Now, if those things benefit that person, well, what happens is that they realize like, oh, if this works and I'm just listening to his book, I wonder what happens if I hire this person.
Yeah.
So it's a totally different dynamic. So that's the kind of psychology behind like monetizing the book.
Yeah, that's great. So obviously this is the misconception. Thank you for sharing that, like for give people a clarity. So we're nearly coming to end of this podcast, Steve. So like before we finish up here, like if you want to give people one advice so they can take their business to next level using like a book, what will be that be like people have thinking like if I, in order to like write my own book or like hire someone, it's going to cost me thousands of dollars or like
Yeah.
I need to be in a position. But if you want them to like simplify everything, like and
Yeah.
advise like how they can go towards the direction.
So obviously there's do-it-yourself programs out there where you can spend a few $100s and get the whole book done, and then you do it yourself. That's not what we do. Our clients are like, most of it, we do most of the writing with them. We're doing the cover design, we're doing formatting, everything. So either option will work. If you need the hands-on support writing the book, that's also something that we do. And you can go to Free Author Blueprint. I have a download there you can get for free if that's something you're interested in checking out. But yeah, like there's a ton of tools out there. Like, you know, we've even played around with like using Chat GPT to generate images for inside the book, the cover. You got to be careful with that because if it's pulling stuff from Google or other sites,
Yeah.
you know, Adobe, then you could get copyright trouble. So I'm always a little hesitant to that. But as an initial concept for an idea that we then take to a designer to build something, then yes. So yeah, the high level, that's my suggestion is like we do have a do it for you kind of option. But it's still not like on the few $100s. It's not. It's in the few thousands of dollars because just that's our clientele. Like they don't want to be like we even have an AI audio production where we will get them to read the book for the client because they just don't have the time to do it. And we don't charge a lot for it, but the quality, I was just shocked in the last year how much the quality of the AI voices learning a human voice has come. And we can get like a British accent or American accent. Like
Yeah.
it's awesome, man. So anyways, that's the full kind of like service that we offer. And like I said, you can go Free Author Blueprint if that's something you want to check out. But if not, I just say go to ChatGPT and start Googling book publishing and find out how to do it yourself.
All right, that's great. Thank you so much for your time. So I wish you very best of luck with everything you do. And if anyone wants to learn more about yourself or your business, or they want to grab a copy of your book, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, they can grab a copy of my book, 7-Day Manifestation Experiment, or they can go on Amazon or actually it's on Barnes and Nobles everywhere, or they can go to Free Author Blueprint if they're interested in the book publishing stuff. I'm on Twitter, on Instagram, I got all the socials, so just Google my name and you'll find it.
All right, that's great. Thank you so much for your time, Steve. I wish you very best of luck with your business, and thank you so much for your time today.
Awesome, man. Pleasure to be here.
That was my pleasure. Thank you. So that's a wrap, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode with Mr. Steve. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. If anyone wants to learn more about him, we can visit his website as well as the social media platform. I'm going to put that link on the description for you. Also, his book links as well. So until then, talk to you in the next episode. Take care.